Hi everyone, it's Anna from the Heartbeat Hive, and today I'm going to do another little sweet hang on a very brief subject. And wow, I got some crazy hair right now. I know it's been a hot minute since I made a video, and I got a request to keep going, so yeah, I'll just go ahead and do that. So before I do that, I offer private coaching. I am a life coach for creative people, high performers, digital nomads, really anybody who wants to improve their flow, which is the science of deep focus, and become organized in their life through systems that work for them, not the traditional ones like planners and things like this. My methods are unconventional because I work with unconventional people who are doing a lot of different, really innovative things and working different types of jobs. Most of them are creative, so they're a lot of them are artists or designers, chefs, dancers, skateboarders. I work with a lot of people. So the other thing that I specialize is energy management and burnout prevention. So I have a couple of things in the description box, wherever it is. And so today's topic I want to talk about is really about space. But the title here is going to be Voids and Vacuums. And one of the things I used to do when I first started coaching in like 2017 was I would draw diagrams for people. And so I have my little free whiteboard thing here. I know that my graphics are not, fancy like a lot of YouTubers, but I don't care. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty of this talk. Let me make sure my little sketch pad is working here, digital sketch pad. So, yep, let's go with the blue. All right, we're talking about voids and vacuums, okay? Why do we want to talk about this? Well, one aspect of why I want to talk about this is that I get a lot of complaints from people saying they are distracted, right? I'm left-handed. Who knows if this handwriting is readable? They're distracted. They're overwhelmed, right? Can't focus, brain fog, things like this, okay? So some of this has to do with your sleep and diet, for reals, but we're going to talk about other things, okay? So the other element that comes up a lot is I don't have time. That's the phrase, right? I don't have time. Well, you're getting the same amount of time that everybody else does, but they're not doing as much as me, Anna. Okay, well, let's figure out what you really want to do. Because a lot of times when there is a void, so this is the drawing that I always do. And these, I did go to art school, but these are terrible. Anyway, when there is a void, okay, let's say there is a void, let's go with black, in your schedule. Let's pretend like this is your week, right? Oh, this is so wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Let's say that you got something going on, like a lot, right? And maybe you have really jam-packed days. This is a weekend, right? But you got this void right here, okay? There's a lot of people who have these complaints who won't leave this open. They will go ahead and book things in there and then complain about it over here. Now, all of this is said in love because I've done these things many, many times. So what we're looking at here is when the void exists, this is one aspect of what we're talking about today. When the void exists, you must have the discipline to understand that it does not matter what it is. When the void is presented, something inevitably will fill it up, okay? Let's relate this to time. If you go to Parkinson's law, which states work expands to the time allotted. I think it's a corollary, not actually a law, but anyway. Work expands to the time allotted. So you say, okay, I have 2 hours to do this. Your brain automatically says, okay, and it expands and starts referencing that time frame instead of maybe a different one where if you have a good mindset, you might say, it won't take that long, right? But when you have the void like this, your brain, when you say 2 hours in this case, and this is related to time, okay? Your brain might reference that amount of time instead of, you know what, that task should only take about this amount of time. So maybe I'll get done early. So there's a lot of people that their brains will automatically go, yeah, 2 hours, got it. And they start expanding to take that amount of time. So this is why we have deadlines, but also there are different mechanisms that can help you reach a deadline. All right, let's return back to the big idea here, which is voids and vacuums. So one of the things we're talking about is leaving space open, not automatically filling it. Now, this can play into recovery time as well. That's something that I coach people on as well for burnout prevention. If you are filling your only free time with something else that is not actually recovery time, and you make exceptions for that too much, you are in the same spot as having these appointments in this free time. Now, let's talk about somebody who makes the statements like, I don't have time. Okay, so this becomes an issue of prioritization and what you actually find meaningful and important. Have you ever, if you've worked with kids before, which I have, when a child wants something very much, they will find any way to get it, right? And let's say they're playing with their friends. 1 more minute is better than 0 minutes with their friends. 5 more minutes, they'll plead with you. Just 5 more minutes. Seems like a long time. And to them, it is an increment where it's better than 0. And so a lot of people do not use these voids that they have in the day, these smaller voids, to be doing something that they really enjoy, and or let's say they're using that small pocket of 5 minutes for some breathing exercises, some visualization, some affirmations, some reassurance with themselves. Hey, you're doing a good job. Everything's going to be fine. Wow, I made it through this part of the day. You can do this. You've got more coming. Isn't life great? I'm grateful for these 4 things. They're not using that time for those things. Now, do we have to optimize every single void? No, we do not. We can actually have a pocket of 5 minutes and do nothing. Nothing. Not get on the phone, not try to call somebody, not text someone, not try to slam your brain full of information when you have all these other things taking up your time. Okay. So, again, I'm saying these things because I have done them. All right, let's move on to this other aspect of having a void. Let me give the example of your physical environment. So, when people have voids in a physical environment, let's use a closet, for example. Let's say you have a really great closet and you clean it out and you get rid of stuff. You take it to the thrift store and you give it back to the person and you wrap it up as a gift. I don't know. And you're like really happy. You're like, okay, yeah, this closet is cleaned out. And unless you are intentional, which is part of the goal with this very informal video and terrible diagrams, is to understand if you are not intentional with your voids, with your space, with your schedule, right, with your time, it will always get filled up by something. Always. So, in your closet situation, unless you are intentional about that closet, your mind, your thought patterns, your discipline, your rules are intentional to say, that closet does not need to be full. I don't want things in that closet. Or you have rules. The only things that go in that closet are XXX, right? So the rule in this case is meant to support you, not restrict you. And that's just a side note that a lot of creative people and innovative people feel like rules are there to keep them down. Well, some of them are, but in this case, when you're making the rule, it's for your benefit, it's to support you. So why would you make a rule like that to keep this void open in the physical space? We're talking about a closet right now. You would do that because If you're not intentional, you're going to come back over here and be overwhelmed when it is full, because the exception, you make an exception for one object and then another object and then another object, another object, another object. Before you know it, the closet is full again, right? But what I want to say is that this is a very natural process. We don't need to become overwhelmed and frustrated with the process, although it can be very frustrating, especially with time in your schedule, right? But what we can do is recognize that it is a very natural cycle. I wonder if I can move this over. Let's see if I can move this board over a little bit. No. Let's see if I can clear this. Export. No. Select. I thought I knew how to do this, but apparently I don't. Oh, here we go. All right, so let's clear it off for right now and start over here with expansion on this idea. So we're still talking about voids and we're still talking about vacuums. Now, let's think about people in our lives, right? So when you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have this many friends to tend to versus you can see how you can give this many people little doses, right? And for introverts, we're like, no, no, thank you. I'd rather give like this much to every single one of these people. That feels better for me. And it's very intentional. So when new people come in and they want to be very close to you as an introvert, you have to have that discipline to understand and ask the question, do I want this person in my life? So this would be inside my life. This would be outside, like acquaintances, casual friends, and have the pacing that you want. There are some people who can become attached very quickly and also demand more of your time because they're not seeing either the big picture, right? That you have a lot of friends already, or that this is more of what you can actually give at a quality and depth that you enjoy. So let's continue on with the idea of a void as a vacuum. So when we have more space, it is possible, I'm not saying it's always the thing, to give more of ourselves to whatever comes into the void. And I don't know if you have ever watched this before, but when you move somewhere new and your house is like kind of empty, somehow it always just gets full of stuff. People bring you things, give you things, send things, ship things, whatever. Junk mail, for example, that's a good example. Unless you are very intentional about the rules, the desires that you have for that space, and maybe even your shopping habits. So yeah, let's continue on a little bit further and then I'll end this video. Wow, these diagrams are so professional. All right. When we're thinking about space in relation to time, so we're going to go over here like this, right? It's important for you to understand that, okay, so time is not as tangible, let's say, as, say, a physical space. But we understand the concept, and a lot of that can be, I mean, the clock even looks like a pie chart, right? You're like, okay, well, this much of my time goes to this. This much of my time goes to that. And before you know it, the whole pie is gone, right? That's the same for your space and the same for your schedule. So let's think about this concept in relation to relationships. If we fill up all of our voids and we are tending to and or even maybe like reacting to other people, so these are people outside of us, right? And we don't leave space for us. What we're saying is that these people, these external things, they don't even have to be people, are more important than our own life. And I bring this up because what do most people do when they wake up? They go on, this is supposed to be a cell phone. Oh, I hope you're laughing with me. I hope you're just dying laughing about this. What do they do when they wake up? They go to the phone and they look externally, right? Externally. They're looking outside of themselves. So instead of allowing something to come from within and having silence and space to contemplate my life, if I go and look externally every single morning, the first thing that I do, what I'm saying is that this space, which is a void, I'm allowing to be a vacuum for other people's opinions, other people's goals, other people's dreams, and possibly for them to say, oh, I need this from you, I need this from you, I need this from you. What do you want? Like, I want this. Why aren't you answering? You know, look at my email. And that is the world that we live in. No wonder people are distracted and overwhelmed and burnt out, because the discipline to remain here and let things naturally come from within and then respond to what is on the outside has, I think, been lost in many ways over the years. And that's not anyone's fault. That is just pure volume of information and the expediting of the functions of technology. But it's our job to return to the root of why we're here. And that would be you and what you want from your life. All right. I think that's enough for today. Let me see if I can make myself bigger here and just summarize and close this up. This very fancy presentation. I wanted to talk about this because there is a really distinct characteristic of people I work with in coaching where if they're not willing to look at themselves to say, you know what, I am part of this equation slash problem, but I'm also part of the solution. So when I shift my blame, the blame outside of me to say, it's their fault, they filled up my schedule. Well, you had to say yes. You know, you had to commit and agree to that. And a lot of people like to give the extreme, and it is real, but it also doesn't have to be, given your boundaries to protect your void, to protect your space in life. What they'll give is the example of, well, my boss, you know, they're going to fire me if I don't do what they say. But in the long run, when we looked at the schedule, right, if we have a balance of what we are allowing from the external and being able to meet expectations that is realistic, we're actually going to perform better over time. But when we're pushed to the max, the quality of our work is going to go down because of the chaos and confusion and the overwhelm. So like over here, this is overwhelm, right? For an introvert, that is like way too many friends. That is not possible. Somebody's going to fall off. It's just, that's the end, right? We're more over here of like, yeah, I can handle about this many. So what I want to say to those of you who are dealing with overwhelm because your void, your space, always seems to have something in it, is I want you to re-examine your boundaries. And it can be very intimidating, very hard to stand up to a boss and say, you know, I really can't handle that right now. But if you would like me to take on that project or that task, what other task that I'm currently responsible for can be put on the back burner? And, you know, some people might be like, oh my God, I'll lose my job. But what you really do when you stand up for yourself in that way is you are signaling to that person that you value yourself as a performer, as a worker, and as someone who values their life and their mental health and well-being, to where it directly correlates and affects your performance in a job. And killing yourself in in the exhausting kind of way. Exhausting yourself and overexerting yourself, and then the quality of your work going down and possibly a lot of mistakes, doesn't do your boss any good, and it doesn't do you any good. So that is why I wanted to kind of go over this and talk about this inward, upward motion from the internal aspect of who we are versus letting things just from the external get filled into this void. And I hope that I gave enough examples to apply to your life. If you like this content, give me a thumbs up. I don't know, if you know how to use the internet and YouTube, do the things that you would do on YouTube. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.